Sup everybody, welcome to another video. Again, by the time you see this, I'm not gonna be here. I already recorded this video many days in advance. So yeah, and I recorded many videos on the same day, so you guys might see a couple videos of me here and there. Maybe actually I don't think I appear in the other videos. This is one of the few ones that I appear wearing the same shirt, because I literally am going back to back. Usually I have these videos spaced out, but today we're gonna be sitting here doing them all in one go pretty much. All right, so it'll be weird for you guys because when you see that, I'm gonna be keep referring to other videos. Anyways, regardless of that, let's talk about what we have on screen here. So if you guys know, I do make videos with Genshin Impact's Abyss usage. Now, before everybody just go absolutely crazy, like, no, usage rate is useless. They're not quite useless, right? Just like how they're not the end all be all of how or who you should pull for, they're not completely useless. The problem though with this usage rate list, before we even get into it, is that it's severely biased, and I'll tell you guys what's wrong with it before we even go in, so you guys have a better context of why, you know, some things just don't seem as they should. So using a character like Jingyuan and a character like Kafka, for example, right now it's not reflective of their true strength. And I understand this is what most people are talking about when we say, well, tier lists and usage rate lists are irrelevant to each other. When you evaluate the character of Jingyuan versus Kafka, Jingyuan is not as good as her. Kafka is a better unit overall than Jingyuan is. However, why is then Jingyuan so much higher than Kafka? Now, this can be attributed to that it's a limited test data pool, right? It's not every single player. This is a very limited test data pool. Right here, the last time this was updated was August 10th, which, I mean, by the time you guys watch this, might be 5 or 6 days ago. And they even mentioned this in the app, which I got this data from, which is from WeChat. All right, so they do say that yes, the stats are heavily skewed due to the problem of ownership rates. Jingyuan was released along with Seele at a time in the game where there was just a super inflated amount of hype and excitement. Everybody was jumping on the like, just people were going nuts for these characters, which resulted in them having inflated pull rates, right? There's just more people right now likely have a Jingyuan than Kafka, and most people who have a Jingyuan likely will not pull a Kafka. And this is also due to the fact that they're both lightning and they both do relative like AoE type damage, even though Kafka is a damage over time unit and Jingyuan is like a traditional DPS with crit damage stuff, but they kind of have similar coverage to each other, so it's very wasteful, and of course them both being DPS, very wasteful to pull both. So for that reason, Jingyuan is just so far up. But what this also shows is that right now, if you do have Jingyuan, you don't need to feel bad about it. A lot of meta players are still using him. They're pretty much crushing through the content with Jingyuan, and so much so to the point that people are using him even more than Seele. Now, again, this is not to say he's better than Seele, it's just likely there's many people who already have him and built him. This is the thing, Jingyuan, once you optimize his relic stats and if you have his light cone, you get a huge boost in his performance, because so much of his power is situated into the Lightning Lord. And if you have the right stat, and when his Lightning Lord does hit and you have enough enemies, like dealing 180,000, 200,000 is like, it's not even too crazy. So when it comes to overall damage ceiling potential, Jingyuan is still very good. Of course, his single target damage is not bad, even though he has arguably, I think, the worst performance out of all the limited DPS, but it's not bad. He's overall still a good character, flexible. It's just that a lot of free to plays right now regard him as like absolute trash tier because they don't have his light cone, nor do they want to spend an enormous amount of resource leveling him up and farming for his relic. So they're almost like a whale character, I would say. So that aside, guys, just take a look at this usage rate list. We're gonna go into team usage rate as well, which I think that one's gonna benefit people a lot more. I wouldn't say anything is out of the ordinary here. I would expect that Welt should have been maybe slightly higher, but that, again, there are plenty of good DPS options already. Blade, Jingyuan, Seele, and like some people, Silverwolf is like a pseudo DPS as well, so kind of obvious that people would prefer to run her instead. Apart from that, if we look at the lowest usage rate list, you're gonna see, unfortunately, the MCs are pretty much already relegated out of the game. And Luca here, people don't, again, be too alarmed. This is more for entertainment purpose at this point. Luca, Kafka, I'm sure these units are gonna rise up to the top tier list. I think Luca may be like in high tier depending on how Kafka performs. Like I said, this is very early data. We will revisit this in future patches, and I guarantee you Kafka likely will rival some of the better units up here, right? So but just for reference, let's just not look at the Kafka banner units here for now because they're too skewed. But someone like Himiko, the worst pretty much standard banner unit. Yanqing as well. This is something about ice DPS units right now that just aren't doing too well. Like the element itself doesn't have a strong carry, doesn't have, you know, insane supports apart from Jeopardy, which is like a preservation. I see maybe Hoyoverse putting a little more attention to the ice units, but you know, only time will tell. Quantum is gonna get just boosted up the butt cheeks once Fu Xuan comes out, so hope you guys are excited for that. All right, anyways, that's it for the general list. This is gonna get a lot more expansive and accurate as more data points are presented and more memory of chaos cycles passes. Now onto the team list. So what are people actually using? Surprise, surprise. The top and most used team here is Jing Yuan, Bai Lu, Asa, Ting Yun, and with 100% usage in the first half. And remember, this is MOC 10, 22.8% usage rate. So with a 34.8% ownership rate, it's crazy to think that a semi free-to-play team, I mean, obviously it's not a full free-to-play team, but having Asta, Ting Yun up here as the best and most used team, not the best, but like the most used team is interesting, right? A very close second is Blade, and then Blade also occupies the third spot. Blade occupies the fifth slot. Blade occupies the seventh slot. It really is just Blade and Jing Yuan alternating between the two. Realistically speaking, I think Kafka is going to be an overall better option instead of Jing Yuan in a lot of these teams. However, like I said earlier, most people just don't have Kafka and they're not going to really pull for her. We're going to be looking at, maybe in another video, the sales numbers right now, and hopefully we get accurate reflection. So if you guys are watching this video and that video is out, maybe you can go check out that video. But if I'm making that video after this, I'll definitely reference back to these points, so it helps to watch both of these videos. And I'm curious, what is the first team that doesn't have these two units in it? A Sela team appears at number 9, and most of it is in the second half. It has a 13.7% usage rate. Truly, it is Blade, Jing Yuan dominating 9 out of 10 of these top used teams. This will just kind of show you guys right now how good of an option both of these characters are. I would honestly say that Blade, for those who pick them up along with Lotra, is going to be currently the best overall team that you can have right now. Just very good and consistent. What's amazing is, remember when Blade came out, if we're looking at him long-term wise, it's safe to say he's gonna still have a place in the meta, even as an off DPS or a support DPS, whatever you guys want to call it, second DPS, meaning that he's not going to be too skill point hungry, and just passively he'll be able to dish out a ton of damage. Very good for people who did pick up Blade. A lot of people nowadays have also said they really regret pulling Jing Yuan, but hopefully this video will give you a little bit more hope. If the meta players in CN are still playing him to this degree, he's not that bad. But I do have to also tell you guys, for those who don't have Jing Yuan's light cone, he likely will feel way worse to play. So unfortunate for those who thought, hey, I can just use a free to play light cone, and most theory crafters or guide people didn't really mention how desperately this guy needed. Like, people oftentimes want to give out the message saying, you know, these are great free-to-play options. You can still make him work with these free-to-play options. And at the time, his DPS was already super good, even with free-to-play options by comparison. But now you guys see the difference in comparison when newer units come out who Hoyoverse needs to incentivize people to pull for. So they give them more free-to-play friendly options. And that gap has really widened for low spenders, free-to-play players, right? But allow me to reiterate, Jing Yuan still really good if you have his light cone, and for those who don't have his light cone, unfortunately, it's a very awkward situation as well, because are you gonna say, oh, I'm gonna wait for Jingun's light cone to come back and pull for his light cone, or should I just forget about the guy and take the hit for the loss and invest in other units that are more free-to-play friendly? That's a choice only you can make. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video has helped and you guys have a great rest of your day, and until the next one, I urge y'all to stay safe. Peace, bye bye.